The chalkboard eraser hit the table with a soft thud, sending a puff of white dust into the air. Agnes Harper, 71, stood in the community center's small classroom, her hands trembling, not from age, but from the sting of her daughter Emily's words at the school fundraiser. The event, meant to celebrate the new library wing Agnes had helped fund, had turned into a public betrayal. Emily, her only child, had stood at the podium, her voice dripping with concern. "Mom's getting older," she'd said, her eyes scanning the crowd of former students and colleagues. "She's forgetting things, bills, appointments. We're looking into a trust to keep her secure." The room had gone quiet, eyes darting to Agnes, who stood frozen in her navy cardigan, her smile tight. Her grandson, Caleb, 18 and lanky, had gripped her hand under the table. "She's lying, Grandma," he'd whispered, his face flushed with anger. Agnes had squeezed his hand back, her heart pounding. She'd known Emily was struggling financially, her boutique had been losing money for years, but this? This was different. This was a calculated move, and Agnes felt the weight of it settle in her chest like a stone. At home that night in her modest cottage on Maple Street, in the quiet college town of Charlottesville, Virginia, Agnes sat at her oak desk, the one she'd used for grading papers for 35 years. The fundraiser's humiliation replayed in her mind, Emily's fake concern, her husband Tom's averted gaze, the pitying looks from old friends. But something else gnawed at her, a letter from her bank, tucked away in her desk drawer, dated 2 weeks prior. It was from Ms. Clara Evans, her account manager, warning that someone had tried to add themselves as a co-owner to Agnes's savings account. The request had been denied for lack of her signature, but the name on the paperwork was Emily Harper Wells. Agnes pulled out the letter, her hand steady now. The numbers were clear, her savings, her pension, the small inheritance from her late husband, George, totaled far more than Emily likely assumed, over $200,000, carefully managed since George's passing 10 years ago. Emily had always thought Agnes lived frugally out of necessity, not choice. She didn't know about the investment account Agnes had built with George, a nest egg for emergencies, not handouts. Emily's visits had grown frequent in the past year, always with a sob story, a late supplier payment, a broken display case, a loan she just needed help with. Agnes had written checks, $2,000 here, $3,000 there, because that's what mothers do. But she'd kept records in her diary, a habit from her teaching days. Every loan, every date, every promise to repay, meticulously noted in her neat cursive. Flipping through the pages now, she tallied it, $18,000 over 3 years, none repaid, no thank yous after the first few times. Emily had stopped asking, she'd started expecting. The next morning, Agnes called Caleb, who was at community college nearby. "Can you come over, sweetheart?" she asked. He arrived within the hour, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his eyes worried. "What's going on, Grandma?" "Mom's been acting weird, telling people you're losing it." Agnes handed him the bank letter. "Read this." His face darkened as he scanned it. "She tried to steal from you," he said, his voice low. "Not steal," Agnes said carefully. "Control. She thinks I'm too old to manage my money." Caleb shook his head. "She's wrong. You're sharper than anyone I know." Agnes smiled faintly. "I need your help, Caleb. I taught one of your professors, Sarah Lynn. She's a lawyer now. Can you get me her number?" Caleb nodded, already pulling out his phone. "I'll do better. I'll call her myself." Sarah Lynn met Agnes at a cafe near the university that afternoon. She was in her 40s, with the same sharp eyes Agnes remembered from her AP English class. "Mrs. Harper," Sarah said warmly, "you haven't changed a bit." They sat with coffee, and Agnes laid out everything, Emily's public claims, the bank letter, the diary of loans. Sarah's expression grew serious. "This is attempted financial abuse," she said. "Emily's setting the stage for guardianship, claiming you're incompetent. We need to act fast." "What do I do?" Agnes asked, her voice steady but her heart racing. "Gather evidence," Sarah said. Your diary is a start. Get medical records to prove your mental clarity. Bank statements, too. And character witnesses, people who know you're capable. We'll contest any guardianship filing and counter with a fraud claim if needed. Agnes spent the next week preparing. She visited her doctor, Dr. Patel, who provided a clean bill of health, no cognitive decline, no memory issues. She met Ms. Evans at the bank, who confirmed Emily's attempt to access her accounts and added two-factor authentication, requiring Agnes's in-person approval for any changes. Ms. Evans also removed Emily as an emergency contact. "You've been a customer for 40 years, Mrs. Harper," she said. "Your accounts are secure." Agnes collected letters from neighbors, her pastor, and former colleagues, all attesting to her independence. Her diary became her weapon, its pages a testament to Emily's growing demands. Caleb helped digitize the entries, creating a timeline of loans and broken promises. "You're like a detective, Grandma," he said, grinning. Agnes chuckled. "I taught history. I know how to piece a story together." Emily called 2 days later, her voice sugary. "Mom, I'm worried about you. That fundraiser speech upset you, didn't it? Let's talk about the trust. Tom and I can handle everything." Agnes kept her tone neutral. "I'm fine, Emily. My bills are paid, my accounts are balanced. What exactly are you worried about?" There was a pause. "You're not getting younger, Mom. Mistakes happen. We just want to help." Agnes's grip tightened on the phone. "I've managed my life for 71 years. I don't need help now." She hung up, her hands shaking, but not with fear, with resolve. A week later, a letter arrived from Family First Legal Services. Emily had filed for guardianship, claiming Agnes suffered from age-related cognitive decline. A hearing was set for 3 weeks away. Agnes called Sarah immediately. "She's moving faster than I thought," Sarah said. "But we're ready." The days before the hearing were a blur. Agnes taught her weekly history class at the community center, where seniors gathered to discuss the past. She didn't mention the guardianship, but her students noticed her intensity. "You're teaching like it's your last lesson," one said. Agnes smiled. "Every lesson matters." The courtroom was small, smelling of polished wood and old books. Agnes wore her best dress, a deep green that George had loved. Sarah sat beside her, a folder of evidence ready. Emily and Tom sat across the aisle with their lawyer, a young man in a wrinkled suit. Caleb was in the gallery, his jaw tight. The judge, Margaret Klein, was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, her eyes sharp behind glasses. Emily's lawyer spoke first, painting Agnes as a frail widow who forgot appointments and misplaced bills. "Her daughter only wants to protect her," he said, gesturing to Emily, who dabbed her eyes theatrically. Agnes's heart sank, but she kept her face calm, her hands folded. Sarah stood, her voice clear. "Mrs. Harper is a retired teacher with a spotless financial record. She's mentally sharp, as her recent medical evaluation confirms." She presented Dr. Patel's report, bank statements showing every bill paid on time, and letters from Agnes's community. Then she held up the diary. "This documents $18,000 in unpaid loans to Emily Harper Wells, alongside her attempt to access Mrs. Harper's accounts without consent." The judge raised an eyebrow, flipping through the diary. "Mrs. Harper Wells, can you explain this?" Emily stammered, "I was helping her, Your Honor. She's confused sometimes. Those loans were gifts." Sarah countered with the bank letter, showing Emily's unauthorized request. The judge's eyes narrowed. "You claimed your mother's incompetence while trying to access her funds. That's concerning." Agnes was called to speak. She stood, her voice steady. "I taught for 35 years, Your Honor. I balanced my budget, paid my taxes, and raised a daughter alone after my husband died. I don't need a guardian. I need my daughter to respect me." The room was silent, Caleb's eyes shining with pride. Judge Klein dismissed the guardianship claim. Mrs. Harper is clearly capable, she said. Mrs. Harper Wells, your actions suggest financial exploitation. I advise you to reconsider your approach. The gavel fell, and Agnes exhaled, the weight lifting. Outside, Emily approached, tears real now. Mom, I didn't mean, Agnes cut her off. You thought I was weak because I'm old. You thought you could take what's mine. I'm your mother, Emily, but I'm not your bank. Caleb stepped between them. Mom, stop. Grandma's right. Emily flinched, then walked away with Tom, her shoulders slumped. That evening, Agnes sat with Caleb on her porch, sipping tea. I'm sorry you had to see that, she said. He shook his head. You're my hero, Grandma. You fought back. She smiled, her heart full. You gave me strength, Caleb. You and Sarah. The next week, Agnes met with Ms. Evans to set up a college fund for Caleb, $30,000 in his name only. It's not a gift, she told him. It's a promise for your future. Caleb hugged her, tears in his eyes. I'll make you proud, Grandma. Inspired by her victory, Agnes started a mentorship program at the community center, teaching seniors about financial literacy and self-advocacy. Her classes filled quickly, women and men sharing stories of family betrayal and learning to protect themselves. One woman, Ruth, 78, thanked Agnes after stopping her son from accessing her savings. You showed me I'm worth fighting for, she said. Agnes held her hand. You always were. Emily didn't call for months, but Caleb visited often, bringing stories of college and his engineering dreams. One spring day, a letter arrived from Emily. Mom, I'm sorry. I was desperate and wrong. I'm in therapy, trying to fix myself. I hope we can talk someday. Agnes kept the letter but didn't reply. Forgiveness would come, maybe, but not yet. A year later, Agnes's mentorship program was featured in a local paper, her story inspiring others to stand up against financial abuse. At a celebration for the program's anniversary, Caleb raised a glass. To Grandma, who taught us all what strength looks like. The room cheered, and Agnes smiled, her diary on the table, a testament to her resilience. That night, she wrote in her diary, I am Agnes Harper, teacher, mother, survivor. I stood up when it was hard, said no when it was scary, and chose myself. I am enough. She closed the book, looked at the stars through her window, and felt free. Her life was hers, and no one, not even her daughter, could take that away.